All right, so I've read 2 pages of this book, the autobiography of Malcolm X. He rose from the hoodlum, thief, dope peddler, pimp, to become whatever, which is more than LeBron James has read. You can search LeBron on YouTube, reading the first pages of every book. All his books are new, and they have perfect spines. Where most people have books, the spines look like this, or all screwed up, because this book is literally 50 plus years old. It's, it is what it is. It's like what people look like when they have a book on their shelf that they have at least read once. LeBron has new books, fresh books with perfect spines, no dog ears whatsoever. The left also has a history of championing very strange heroes, and it's okay when you see an event, and if the circumstances are not in your favor, to know when to fold your hand and walk away, losing a small amount of money rather than, or in this term, it's not really money, it's more like social credit or trust in your argument. That when you like, remember LeBron and the girl stabbing another girl, and he said that you're next, and accountability and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you look like an idiot on that. You took a huge L, and then we're going to come to LeBron in a second. When he said what he said about Kyle now, it's like, we are kind of erring on the side of you're also going to take a big L. LeBron James is not a smart person. I don't know how far to the left of the bell curve he is, and it might be done in Krueger effect, where he's kind of over. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. So when he shows up at a press conference with a book, and it's like, hey, LeBron, why are you going to a press conference with a book in your hand? You look like an idiot. And it's like, he doesn't know he looks like an idiot when he's got a book in his hand that has clearly not been read. In fact, there's one case where the guy asked him, like, oh, so how'd you like the book? And he just, he was a kid who was caught out. Like, he hadn't read, I think it's a good book, and he had a lot to say. It's like, okay, couldn't you say that about any book? Yeah. So I say LeBron James has a history of taking L's and bad takes on things. I mean, get that ugly crown off the screen. He doesn't. He's like, his memory is that of a Mayflower over a lake at sundown. It's these concepts are in and out of his head so fast, he doesn't remember the "you're next" tweet where the police shot a girl to save another girl from getting stabbed. It's just not in his conscience, because he's never been held accountable. Like, all of us normal people, we get feedback from people all the time, but when you're somebody at this level, you're a famous person, it's just, you're not getting honest feedback, because you simply would fire the person who's giving you that honest feedback. It's like the Stephen King syndrome in writing. Like, why are his books so overwritten? Because if an editor tries to dial it back, he's probably just going to find another editor. And it's like, the books are going to be successful anyway. It's like, there's no point in editing someone like Stephen King. And if you're around LeBron James, it's like, you don't really care if you're his social media manager, if you're his attorney or representative in some capacity. You're just taking a percentage of the cut. It's like, if he wants to look like an idiot, as long as you still get paid, you're not his friend. You're in a business relationship with him. It's like, that's why he keeps posting these kind of just really cognitively impaired Twitter takes. Okay, the next thing I see handed out by the Twitter attorneys is people have a misunderstanding about, one, the facts of the events. In the first place, they don't know who was involved. The guy fired the first shot named Josh Zeminski. Then the other parties involved, Rittenhouse, and then Haber, Gross Kurtz, and Rosenbaum. Okay, first things, at least in common law, laws change fed state to state. Common law homicide was the deletion of a person by another person, usually occurred within a year and a day. And people are throwing around this term murder. Murder has a legal definition. It's not homicide, murder, manslaughter. Those all have specific legal definitions. Murder is when homicide occurs without justification, mitigation, or excuse. So you can't say, yes, did Kyle kill Rosenbaum, the child lover who was chasing him? Yes, he did. He turned and fired at the very last possible second. That's justification, mitigation, or excuse of a homicide. So you've got like a flow chart, and you start with, did a homicide occur? And then you move to the right of the flow chart, and it says, what was a justification, mitigation, or excuse? And you say, well, look at the events of what happened. Now you can go back before the events to look at the state of mind of Kyle, why he was there, how did he get the rifle, what state lines did he cross, and whether or not that's an issue. Or did the rifle change state lines? It's like, that's a very, very small issue, and they tossed it out because they didn't have a case for that issue. And also, to the case of the murder, it doesn't matter. You say, oh, it might show intent. A very, very little probative value of showing intent, because there's overwhelming evidence of him walking around with his little cleaning up graffiti and offering people help. Like, if you're going to show the character of him and the character of these other people, if you're the prosecution, you're just as well to leave that out, because there's so much video of Kyle like cleaning graffiti, just being just a insanely naive 17-year-old who's legitimately trying to help his community. But all that, it's like, that's slightly probative of a state of mind, but it's really not as important as you think. What really matters, and I've seen this when this stuff came out, I've seen all the evidence that's come out to this point, is you had one person chasing another person. Rosenbaum, the kitty diddling felon, was chasing the child, 17-year-old Kyle. Kyle turns at the last possible moment and shoots. Chasing someone who's armed is an act of an insane person. Why was he chasing him? Because he wanted to. Rosenbaum was a mentally ill person who was chasing somebody because he wanted to cause harm to him. Kyle turned and fired. Homicide occurred, yes. It's not murder because it's justified, mitigated, or excused. Self-defense or defense of another. That absolutely excuses that act from a murder into no crime. No crime was committed. Another term is being tossed around, this thing of active shooter, and people aren't really defining it. They go, oh, well, in self-defense, Haber and Grosskreutz were trying to stop this quote-unquote active shooter. Active shooter is, I'm not sure if there's a legal term or not, but it's kind of defined as, loosely, I think they're saying it as someone who's running around randomly committing criminal acts involving a firearm. This guy was not doing that. He did not commit a criminal act. You can't assert the right of self-defense or defense of others because you see somebody commit a shooting. You have to go through a flow chart like, did you see a crime? Not all shootings are crimes. They're justified, mitigated, or excused. They're acts of self-defense. If you say Haber and Grosskreutz, they heard shots fired and they heard that someone was shot, they have to do the calculus in their head of, did this person commit a crime or was it an excused homicide? And they look at it as like, well, he's not our guy, he's the opposition. But he legally defended himself. You don't have the right to arrest him, and you don't have the right to use force against him simply because he used the firearm. And the one guy, Grosskreutz, was concealed carrying a Glock 40, and he brandished it, and then he pointed it at Rittenhouse. Those are not legally justified acts because you don't have the right to arrest Rittenhouse because he didn't commit a crime. He legally defended himself. And really, in a complicated situation like this, it's a situation like where you see two people fighting, you don't know who the aggressor is, you don't know who has the legal right of self-defense, you're in a really difficult situation where the better position for Haber and Grosskreutz would have simply been to call the police. They don't know if Kyle was legally defending himself. If they saw the event, the totality, the circumstances of the event, they saw it from start to finish, a reasonable person in similar circumstances would conclude that Rosenbaum was an aggressor trying to cause grievous bodily injury to Kyle because he chased after him and he shouted several things and he said several aggressive things. But mainly it's the fact that one man chased another man. Rittenhouse turned at the last moment and shot. Yes, you do not have to subject yourself to assault and battery. Even more so if you have a rifle, because the thinking is, if someone is crazy enough to chase down a person with a rifle, they're going to take that rifle from you and use it against you. And Rosenbaum was a tough cookie. He was a little guy, but he had been in and out of prison for decades and for hurting children. It's like the joke is he died doing what he loved, trying to touch a child. He was a very bad dude. But this simple aspect of one person chases another person. You don't have the right to chase somebody if they didn't commit a crime, and you're not defending yourself, defending others, or legally entitled to arrest somebody because they committed a felony in your presence, or whatever justification you want to look at it. Rosenbaum didn't have the right to chase Kyle and threaten Kyle. Kyle had the legal right to defend himself. This is absolutely crystal clear. He shouldn't have been in the first place. That doesn't go to his argument of self-defense. The self-defense is crystal clear. The fact that this is in court in the first place should, I don't want to say terrify you, but it should have you buying rice and freedom pellets. It should not have gone to court in the first place. It means there's something fundamentally flawed that this could even get this far. He shouldn't have to rely on a judge and jury to find him not guilty. The district attorney, that they would prosecute this, means we have a fundamental disconnect in this country, a schism that we cannot come back together. We're too far gone at this point. It's like it's better to have to legally split apart, to have a new understanding, to have a new agreement of we're going to have certain states for certain people and certain states for other people. If you want to be this Antifa BLM, okay, well, here's your region, and conservatives can have their region. And I think that's the only way to go forward, because we can't continue to go along. Like, if you're saying you want to remove the right of self-defense, well, then you just burn the Constitution. You might as well write it in pencil. Without the right of self-defense, the Second Amendment is meaningless. And this point, the Second Amendment is not self-defense. It's to kill tyrants and destroy tyranny. So you know where that goes. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.